Hey guys, welcome to That Game Show, the show that talks about all the stuff in the nerd world and all the stuff in between. I am your host, Chase Bunker. Joining me today, he is the half-Asian sensation. It's Curtis Coe.
Hello, everyone.
One name to rule them all, it's Murph Murphy.
How's it going, guys?
And player 4, while he's eating some food while I'm introing, it's Daniel Clegg.
Hi, friends.
I've got sweatshirt hair.
You got sweatshirt hair. That's a really random statement. All right, thank you guys very much for joining me. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or actually watching us live on Twitch, thank you very much for making us a part of your day. Gentlemen, did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Thumbs up.
Did you guys do anything special?
I got sick.
Yay!
You were not having a good holiday at all.
Yeah.
Oh man, you were not having a good time.
That's how it is.
I mean, does getting sick from food count? Like eating, that's pretty typical, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was more just that's how I work. When I'm off of school or off of work, I get sick. So I'm going to try not to cough in all of your ears. I'm going to continue to pop cough drops
Yay!
throughout the show. And hopefully we'll make it through this without blowing any eardrums.
Yeah.
There you go.
I normally, whenever I get sick, if I have a cough, I'll just OD on cough drops. Where it's like, all right, it's gone, here's another.
See, I've got dwarven constitution, so I don't get sick.
Nice.
That's only against poison.
That is true. Do you, Murph, Clay, did you guys do anything besides, get sick or anything?
I got to eat all the sides that I like, and I got to eat meat off of a bone, so
All right.
success.
We deep fried our turkey this year. It was
Nice.
different. Yeah, it was like KFC or something. It was good.
I went
Is
to...
that, so,
Sorry.
go ahead.
What were you going to say? Real quick, because I'm going to go,
I was
anecdote.
curious, how does one deep fry a turkey? I'm a little curious.
You need a really big deep fryer.
Okay.
Right? Which you can fill with oil, and the whole thing goes in there.
And a very unfrozen turkey.
Yes.
Oh, because it catches on fire and explodes.
Yeah, if you want to see some hilarious videos, Google or YouTube, just like the turkey fryer accidents.
Okay.
Yep, there you go.
All right.
We had a fire extinguisher right next to us, so we were good to go.
Nice.
My apologies for interrupting. I was just curious.
One thing that I did, because I was going to go to my parents, but then their house just, flooded all of a sudden, so it's like, all right, nope, can't do that anymore. I went to my roommate's family, which, his family consists of, 20 people because, his brother and sister just have, 20 kids, 10 kids each. First off, we had regular turkey, and then smoked turkey, and then we had beef, and then we had pulled pork, and then loaded mashed potatoes, and
Whoa!
yeah, and there was too much food, and I was like, oh sweet Cheez-Its. But then his brother-in-law was like, hey, what'd you guys do? And yesterday it's like, oh well, we just blah blah blah. I played video games, and his 9-year-old, I don't want to say he's 9. I want to maybe say he's 7 to 9. I don't know. He perked up, and he's like, "What video games did you play?" And it's like, "Oh, I played Heroes of the Storm." It's like, "Oh, I haven't played that yet. How was it?" I mean, we talked about it for a little bit, and then he asked me and I asked him what games did he play, and then of course he mentions all the Lego games, and then he spouts on and on about video games, which I was like, "All right, this is cool," but then going into hour number 2. I realized, oh wait, this is what it was like dealing with me as a child. Because all he did was talk about it nonstop. It's like, I like it. If I talk about video games for 2 hours, it's in a podcast setting, which you can catch on twitch.tv/KBHSpike or youtube.com/thatnewshow. But that's besides the point. The point was
Nice plug.
Thank you. And so then he starts mentioning games that I've never even heard of, and I think it's because they're mostly mobile. And he's like, "Have you played Dinosaur Hunter?" I'm like, "Turok? No, it's this game on
Okay, that's where I
iPad."
went.
And I'm like, "This isn't the same." And I go, "Have you played Mega Man before? You might like him." And he goes, "Mega Man's okay. He's all right." And then immediately I just shut down and just go, "Well, football's on, so I'm gonna go watch that now."
They've moved
come
on.
on.
They've moved on. Well, the nice thing is that compared to us, at least most of us, I suppose, they're at least talking to an adult figure. I use the term adult loosely, but
Yes.
who actually gets the video game scene, right? You understand it, you're involved in it, you accept it, that you're not being talked down to when you're discussing the subject you're interested in, right?
Correct.
So that's good for the kid.
Yeah, it's It was just one of those. I was just like, "Whoa, great! This is why I've got a sense of like realization." Then when he said, "Oh, Mega Man's not cool," it's like Mega Man is always cool. You can say what you want about Sonic, but don't trash the Mega Man.
Oh boy!
All right, I'm gonna say I'm actually really excited to see what video games are gonna look like, say 20 years from now, because by then it's the kids who have grown up with the microtransaction and they know they're bad. So they're going to be like, they're probably their goal of like the game developers of 2 decades from now are going to be like, I'm going to make a mobile game, but it's not going to suck. And I bet we're going to see a huge like increase in the quality of mobile games. If we're still using phones 2 decades from now, like this is old man Murph.
Right. You know, they're all gonna be like, you have to use your hands. Back to the Future.
Oh gosh.
Gosh.
This game is lame.
But I mean, like all of us, like the game designers now, all grew up with Mario, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and we all see what they make now, and I don't know.
Well, the one thing that I thought was funny was like the kid goes, "Do you play Five Nights at Freddy's?" I was like, "No, I know better. I'm staying away from that." I have, you know what? That's Markiplier's job. Markiplier is, you know, his job in the YouTuberverse is he is going to play Five Nights at Freddy's. I will watch. I won't have to deal with all the stress of all the jump scares. He can just take care of that for me. And that's what I think what horror games have evolved to is they're great for Let's Play, but like they probably won't sell well just because they're like, you know what? You take the reins on this. I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I like this one. Flying Planes over on Twitch says, future games will use a controller to be, quote, retro with 1080p style gaming.
That's real good.
Nailed it.
That's actually pretty accurate.
That is accurate.
Well, I mean, we're already seeing it, I think, with people saying, guys, do you miss how the PS1 looked?
No.
Like,
no.
I mean, but this is a statement I've heard people utter. Like, PS1, people are getting nostalgic for PS1 stuff, which boggles my mind.
That would be like saying
because
that
90% of them have not actually looked at a PlayStation game in 10 years.
That's like people in the 70s are like, hey, remember how great... Did you ever miss how polio was?
I don't think anyone actually says that.
Exactly. Like PlayStation... Like we can admit this. And like the N64 PlayStation universe... Graphically, it was like, it's just awful. It hasn't aged. But like games-wise, it's like, you know, they have a lot of great games. It just, gosh, the graphics are just like, it's like buffering. Like it's constantly buffering.
I think it's a nostalgia thing because I think people are gonna. I think we are within a couple of years of seeing a PlayStation 1 N64 aesthetic style retro game coming.
Anytime anybody says something like that, I advise them to look at what GoldenEye looked like.
Right, but I'm just what I'm saying. Just saying, we still put out Nintendo games, Nintendo style games.
Yeah,
and
I want to watch these hands.
They are
like
very obviously inferior to SNES style games. Like there's going to be this retro polygon movement.
I think maybe some of those games that kind of... it's hard to explain exactly what I'm saying, but less of the games that were trying to look realistic and more of the games that were going for that kind of cartoony look, like, say, we'll go with something like Banjo-Kazooie or...
Pyro the Dragon.
Yeah.
Right. I think people are going to try and mimic that aesthetic.
I mean, I guess they kind of already are, in a way.
Kind of? But I mean intentionally.
Okay.
Well, like, here's the funny thing. That's an awful idea. Like, if we want retro, like, we can go up to maybe, like, Super NES, and it's like, oh, this is, you know, still aesthetically pleasing. But when you make that jump from, like, 32 to 64, it's like, oh, yeah, this is just awful.
I mean, I know. Look, I'm not advocating this, but I'm just saying it's coming. So get prepared.
Did you guys ever see? I'm sure you didn't play it. The game Sword and Sorcery.
Yeah.
It was. I know.
Okay.
I figured you did, Murph. It looked up Sword and Sorcery. The SWOR.
Yes, I remember this
Sorcery.
box.
It was a. It came out in the last 3 or 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
It is a 16-bit adventure game, right? The graphics, could have been fantastic, but they intentionally downgraded them so that it looks really crunchy. But they took that in an artistic direction, right? It's all about creating a deer or a mountain range or your character in this really simplified art scheme. I think there's a place for that. But when you intentionally go low-res polygons, can you hear my cat crying?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't get it. I'm just saying. It's kind of like
Coming. Okay.
And in 20 years, people are going to be like, you guys remember how Minecraft used to work? To look?
Uh-huh.
And then they'll be like the Minecraft retro revival or something.
Well, I guess Minecraft, it kind of is the epitome
Yeah.
of that, isn't it?
right.
Because
but
I mean,
people
it
are gonna
has
be
the
like,
blocked hands. Like I remember, like the big thing in StarCraft 64 was seeing all of them run just with like these like blocked hands. Like, oh, let me grab this for you, and it just like their fingers don't move, but it just like automatically like suctions into their hand.
Like, I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll keep an eye on it. And then,
We'll see. We'll revisit this in 10 years.
I think so, if we're doing this in 10 years.
Oh, I don't know. I love how someone last episode. By the way, Telltale will not get Game of the Year. Ouch!
Yep.
No, play Tales from the Borderlands. That was a fun game.
Nope.
Well, I have a feeling I'm gonna get flack for that. That and the polio joke, but that's okay. Some people are saying,
I think we're good. I think enough time has passed.
yeah, this is true. Did you guys do any Black Friday shopping? Run over any old ladies? Punch any children?
So
What,
I
is that
got
too much?
One thing, but
No.
no.
I
I
had to
got
think
one
about
thing, but I did it from the safety of my house, and that was I subscribed to Marvel Unlimited.
Oh, I've done that before. Do they have a deal going on?
They had a deal. I think it was like $50 as opposed to like $70 for the year. So
Yeah, that's not bad.
mhm.
If you're an avid comic book reader, absolutely.
Well, it's perfect for me because for those who don't know, Marvel Unlimited is kind of a Netflix for Marvel comics, in that any comic that is older than 6 months, I believe, you can read.
Wow.
Right.
So,
So they've got entire story arcs.
Yep.
all the major characters, just not the most current stories.
Right,
Like-
you're
just
6
like
months behind.
That's a perfect comparison.
that's
Yep.
actually pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
And-
Can you save them on your device now? I think that's
Yeah,
a newer feature. Yeah, that's cool.
you can. So if you're gonna go somewhere without internet, you can just be like, doodle-doodle, like. So the one complaint I had, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go read. Gosh, what was it? I was gonna go read the X-Men Hope Reborn storyline, which unfortunately spans like 12 different titles. So unfortunately they don't make it like, so at the back of the comic book there's this easy checklist they have printed, but there's no easy way to like jump from one title to the other. You have to go and like type in, all right, so I just read Astonishing X-Men, now I have to read Uncanny X-Force 527. All right, after that I got to read the New Mutants 13 to 2010.
I hate that when they
So-
jump between character books. That's annoying.
Right, but I mean, I'm not spending an arm and a leg, and I've got to read what? Let's see, the whole run, the new Miss Marvel, the Squirrel Girl. So a lot of bad X-Men comics. I mean, it worked out.
By the way, speaking of comics,
Awesome.
So
That sounds like a
that's
good
my
buy.
black part.
speaking of comics,
That's my
we'll talk
Black
about this
Friday
in a
deal.
second. Did you guys watch the Captain America Civil War trailer?
I have.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, we'll talk about that in a second. If you guys are watching on Twitch, feel free to talk about it as well. We'll talk about it in just a little bit after Black Friday. Clegg, what'd you buy? And how much did you
Only
spend?
A couple things that are video game related. The Heroes of the Storm sale was going on, so I got a couple of skins because everything is 50% off.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to lose money on these deals, right? So
Yeah.
I I gotta pick up 2 or 3 that are each like $3. You know, that's not too bad. But I did some of that. And then we got a bunch of computer upgrades, you know, new solid-state drive, a couple new fans for the rig. Nothing terribly interesting, just a couple of baseline items you need to keep the game running.
Yeah.
But that's about it. What about you, Curtis?
Well, I'm going to be completely honest. I bought a whole bunch of stuff for my wife because I was a smart person. And on Cyber Monday, I was like, okay, Legend of Korra. I promised my wife I'd buy that. Spend $40
that's right. You
on
told
that.
me they've got the whole thing available.
I got the whole thing for $40 on. Unfortunately, it was on DVD because they're jerks and don't want to release a full thing on Blu-ray, which is awful. But you can get it in Australia, so that sucks. Also, we spent $35 for the full Blu-ray collection for Harry Potter.
That's not bad.
For all 8 movies on Blu-ray, which was pretty fantastic. And then I bought a hat from from Durarara, and I'll let you guys figure out what that is. That's an anime called Durarara. It's
right. Yeah.
It's a hat that is one of the main characters called Salty. It's their little motorcycle beanie. So I bought that for my wife.
Which site did you get that from?
Amazon. It was actually
really?
Yeah. So my wife wanted it, and we needed to spend 1 more cent in order to get the free shipping on our Harry Potter because it was $34.99, like a bunch of jerks. So I spent an extra, $17 on this little hat that Charlotte's gonna like. So
save the $5 on shipping. I mean,
it was something she wanted anyway. So it was kind of one of those things where it's like, that's one less Christmas present I have to buy this year. So
yeah, I said I wasn't going to do any Christmas shop or any Black Friday shopping because I was poor, and then I looked at the Steam sale. And it's like, I could probably afford these. Like, I got more Payday DLC because I realized I forgot to get a character, and which, by the way, they announced they're doing a Point Break heist based off the movie, and that Bodhi's going to be a playable character. So it's like, yes. So I'm excited for that. And also, I saw that Mass Effect 1 and 2 were on sale. And it's like, originally I was going to get Mass Effect 1. It's like, all right, $5, that's not bad. And like the one thing I was afraid of was like, because on Steam you can get Mass Effect 1 and 2. On Origin, you can only get 3. And so I'd have to go to Origin. It's like, is this really worth it? And I wasn't sure if the save games were gonna convert, and it said yes, they do. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll get it. And so I was about to get 1, but then they were like, oh, do you want to get 1 or do you want to get 1 and 2 for $8? It's like,
I will tell you, I think 2 is the better of all of the series.
I hear that 2 is amazing.
Yeah.
2, yeah, I would think 2 is probably the best of the 3, but not by much.
Yeah, I just feel like it hit really hard at the end of the game, and it really made you think about your choices. But anyways.
But yeah. So, another study came out as well that said a lot of people did more online sales this year for Black Friday than they did going to the retailer or going to the actual retail store. So I thought that was cool, but at the same time, it's like I kind of like human interaction, but I might limit it on Black Friday.
Not on
I wouldn't really call
Friday.
that human interaction.
Yeah, see, every year there are more and more of those YouTube videos with the barricades that fall apart and people start getting trampled and people are being stupid. It's a dissuasion. No one wants to deal with that.
I just remember going to Walmart a few years ago. I think it was back in like 2011 or 2012. I went to Walmart in Palm Bay, which is like, it isn't a big town, so it's like, all right, I'll just go. I feel like if you go to a smaller town, the crowds won't be as bad. Because like, I'm not going to go Black Friday shopping in Orlando. I'm going to go Black Friday shopping in a smaller town because it's going to have the same amount of deals and not as much hateful people. No, I was incredibly wrong because the entire place was just one giant line. And it looked like it was massive because like, oh, there's this one, like it was on a what's it called? It was on a pallet. Like that's the worst part. It was on a pallet in the front, but the line was from that pallet and it went all the way around. It serpentined into the groceries and then just went all the way to the back of the electronics. Mind you, this was like Xbox 360. They didn't put it back in the electronics where, it would be contained. No, they proceeded to just put it everywhere else, and it was like the biggest cluster F I've ever seen. and I hated it. Then I went to Target, and for some reason, the people that go to Walmart and the people that go to Target are just two totally different people. Because Target was calm. Like, it was calmer, I should say, because I think I was the more hyper one because I slid underneath a person's legs. Because, I mean, the person was like 6'7". So they had their legs wide open. I'm going to slide underneath it, get an Xbox 360. That was actually a true story. Until I found a PlayStation 3, and then I dropped the 360, and then picked up the PlayStation 3. I know that my friend Johnny's probably going to watch this and be like, why would you do that? I did it because I like PlayStation more. But yeah, that was my Black Friday story. About a few years ago, a little bit dated. I know. All right, let's talk about actual news, because we kind of went on like the anecdotal tangent. All right, we'll talk. I already teased it before. By the way, if you're just joining us, we are That Game Show. We talk about nerdy stuff. The Captain America Civil War trailer came out 2 weeks ago. We should have talked about it last week, but Game of the Year. We kind of talked about that for I think we argued literally. In pre-show, we said, all right, let's keep it 30 seconds. And I think we talked about, for 30 minutes, Bloodborne and Witcher 3. But,
the games.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so, Captain America Civil War trailer came out. What'd you guys think of it? Curtis.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because I realized, I should probably just direct it.
Can we just get to the beef of it? I'm a little confused about what the Civil War is, I guess, is my biggest thing. I know they kind of explained it in the trailer, and I've been keeping up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and what I thought the Civil War was and what the Civil War is actually turning out to be is
it's different from the comics, for sure. Because in the comics, Spider-Man plays a really big role. He is sort of the face of the war, of the argument, in should the characters reveal their identities or not, and he does in the comics, right?
Correct.
And that helps people take sides and kicks off the conflict.
From what I understand, and I'm definitely input from everybody else here, is it seems like this is more about accountability than it is about registration. Keeping superheroes in check, as in not destroying countries and cities.
I think that was always the point, even in the comics, wouldn't you say, Murph?
But I guess the problem the movie has is that they can't say mutant because of Fox, right?
Correct.
And one of the huge, I guess, plots of Civil War in the comics was every mutant had to register, which mutants didn't like because of the Mutant Registration Act, which is just like a driving thing of X-Men.
Correct.
X-Men is a couple of metaphors. It's a gay metaphor, it's a minority metaphor, and it's also somewhat like a Holocaust metaphor. And the Registration Act is very much like part of that Holocaust metaphor. But when you can't say mutant, it kind of does. The Civil War doesn't make as much sense.
Well, okay, so I'm going to have to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
Spoilers. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is very much about Inhumans, and they've been kind of using Inhumans in the same way they've basically been using Inhumans the way that the comics used the mutants.
Right.
They're starting to get into this registration, but this doesn't really talk about that at all. So, and we've already seen some rather catastrophic things that Inhumans have done in the TV show, but nothing in nearly the scale that would constitute in Civil War. So,
right.
I guess
I think the issue of accountability is definitely going to be a driving factor. It was in comics, and it's going to be here because it's about people dying, and these heroes were supposedly responsible, so someone needs to be held accountable, right? I think the question we all have, and we're only going off a trailer here, right, is who gets Bucky really the impetus of this movie? Because that doesn't seem like it's enough to spark a war, right? Like if it's the last needle on the haystack, and they've been at odds, forever, and this just gets them going. I mean, maybe, but is he really that important? I don't know.
So I have an interesting theory, and it's probably completely wrong, but I don't. How much do you guys remember of Winter Soldier, where they had this threat algorithm.
I remember it. Yeah.
Okay. In Winter Soldier, they talk very briefly about something they have called a threat algorithm, which they put into their giant flying ships, which is basically shoot everybody who is a threat. Okay?
Yeah.
My theory is that Bucky has that list, or has that algorithm somehow, and that's why everybody's after him. It has absolutely nothing to do with...
Well, so Bucky just has to have a MacGuffin, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
I think
I
he has
mean,
the quote-unquote magical MacGuffin.
I think they're also after him because they want him to answer for his crimes with Hydra. And, like, the thing, like, I look at Civil War, and I think the story behind Civil War is definitely different in the Civil War comic than it is, at least it looks like, in the movie. Which is kind of important because in the comic, I'm going to try not to spoil it, like, there's a big moment that, you know, somebody dies. And at that point, it's like, do we, like, you know, that person's going to be gone forever. Granted, this is movies. We can probably revive them, all that stuff. But at the same time, do you think that they're trying to avoid that by somehow, like, altering it just a little bit to where they can keep said character and also keep going with the rest of the series?
You know who I bet is probably going to bite it? Is not the one who dies in the comic. So, but I bet Robert Downey Jr. there is kind of like, all right, I'm done being Iron Man.
I would also bet money on that. I would say that's...
I wouldn't
think
be
that
surprised.
Would be surprising, given how much he has to be paid for every movie he's in, right?
Yes.
So if you want him to go out with the biggest bang possible, this is a great opportunity to let him do that.
And on top of that, then if you still want Iron Man, you just put another guy in the suit and just say, "Oh yeah, I took over the Iron Man suit."
Right? Yeah.
But never take this mask off.
I mean, I guess the question is really, is that where they're going with it, or is it kind of supposed to be, you know, basically certain heroes are no longer in good graces with each other kind of deal, where there's this kind of splintering.
Right. Well, in the comics, everything sort of worked itself out. People's memories were erased, and, you know, sort of timelines were reset. Like, things kind of went back to normal-ish settings from before the Civil War, kind of. I don't know if they would go that route. I feel like there's going to be some finality and a couple of deaths in the movie, and we're going to see some changes in the rosters again, and new actors coming in, which is probably a good thing, you know.
Yeah.
Fresh faces in there. And
What's on the slate, right? We got
Doctor Strange.
We got Doctor Strange. We've got Black Panther.
Ant-Man 2.
By the way, I want to mention this comment because I think it's funny from Flying Planes. If my home gets wrecked by a bunch of superpowered freaks wanting to fight, I want to know who I'm suing.
Right? I mean,
it's true.
Yeah.
That's kind of one side of the argument.
It is valid.
You get some insurance. Everyone in the Marvel universe has superhero insurance.
Yeah.
Or should.
I mean, if you're smart, you do.
I bought us volcano insurance. We don't have a volcano, but don't you think we're overdue for one?
My God, you're right.
But I mean, I guess with the changing of everything, how exactly? I mean, Spider-Man's supposed to be in this movie, right?
Right.
I think like it's literally supposed to be like the Avengers cast is supposed to be in this.
Correct.
Well, I mean,
along with the
kind of like that.
The introduction of Black Panther. We're supposed to have Baron Zemo somewhere in this movie.
Who?
I mean, where? Complicated. Look it up. Baron Zemo, Wikipedia.
All right.
Yeah. Well, we could just start naming 90s or never mind.
Yeah, I mean, you can pretty much just look it up if you want to. It's a villain.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into more detail than that. But this, I just don't understand where everything is fitting into this movie, I guess, from this trailer.
I don't have a good sense from this trailer, but I don't know, I'm sure it'll be a good old-fashioned superhero beat 'em up.
Yeah, and I gotta dig that the Iron Man beat down at the end of that trailer.
Oh yeah,
Right.
No, the one thing. Granted, I'll wait till Clay gets back to like the one thing that really got me in the trailer, and I'm pretty sure it got everybody as well.
Oh yeah, I know exactly.
Oh
and
yeah.
I do want to say, like, the Tony Stark Captain America like beef, like it's not like they're suddenly not like, oh, we're suddenly fighting. Like, this has been building, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this beef is deserved, especially from like the last movie with Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, Tony Stark, you just unleashed Ultron on the world, you jerk, said Captain America.
But can we talk about the person who probably should be held the most accountable is Iron Man, and he's kind of on the opposite side of.
Yeah, but yeah, no. Well, that's Tony Stark and Captain America.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of my humorous note. Is actually my wife said it. She's like, I mean, isn't he the guy that kind of like did all this terrible stuff in the first place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of why, like, I mean, that was the biggest hint right there for Civil War, was because, you know, Cap didn't like it, Tony did this thing, and then, chaos ensued. And then you got the guy, no strings on me, and then there you go. Then Ultron happened. Yep.
I don't know if you
Fairly accurate impression. Not gonna lie.
Have you guys gotten a pretty good look at that Black Panther costume?
I haven't watched a lot of it. I saw him like, oh, hey, Black Panther. Well, he's gone already.
Very minor, but it looks good.
All right. So, now that Clegg's back, the one thing that got me, and it was probably the best line, was, I'm sorry, Tony. He's my friend. So was I.
So was I.
It's like,
Right.
good line. It's like...
That's the crux of the movie, is friends fighting friends, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like, that was the...
Black Widow fighting Captain America, and they had the whole buddy-buddy thing going on in the last Captain America movie.
Yeah.
So,
but like, that was my...
See how it all goes.
That was my Jared Leto, like, hurt you really, really bad moment. It's like, oh my gosh, that's such a good moment to end the trailer.
Yeah.
It's gonna make you feel the feels.
Oh man.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm really excited for this, and the thing is, like, I'm trying not to get too hyped, because whenever I get too hyped, I get disappointed. So.
Look, I just want them to do the current, like, kind of Marvel storyline where Doom is literally God, Fantastic Four are the villains, and like, now everyone's on Battle World, where like all of the multiverses have slammed together, so there's like 20 Hulks fighting like 20 Thors.
Thor is the police.
Isn't that Secret Wars? Is that what you're talking about? Where everything's kind of flipped.
It's a really weird storyline.
What was it? Did you guys watch the Michael B. Jordan interview where they're like, why does Fantastic Four suck? And he was just like, yeah, it's not what we were... It wasn't what we were wanting to make, or something like that. Like, he was just like kind of making excuses, but at the same time he's like, yeah, we know this thing sucks. We don't like talking about it. And now, like, they removed it from the second one. It sucks because I like the casting, but
this was a script and I don't know.
I think it was a script and a director or editing issue.
Yeah.
There's
more than one problem with that movie.
But
you can't pin it on one thing.
Yeah.
I don't think you can pin it on the cast, pretty much. But
speaking of Secret Wars, have you guys played Infinite Crisis yet? The DC MOBA.
No.
DC has a MOBA with like all the various types of like Batmans and Jokers, like Gaslight Joker, Vampire Batman.
Down?
What's that?
That might have been the Marvel one that closed down.
I thought the Infinite Crisis closed down.
Did it really?
Yeah, no, we're keeping pretty busy with Heroes of the Storm.
Yes, it did. It closed in August, actually.
No!
Yep. So apparently, yeah. So.
I mean, that's the funny thing. Like, let's briefly talk about this for a second. Like, how you have like the MOBA genre. Like, you're supposed to have, you know, Infinite Crisis. You had Dawngate, which both canceled, and then Demigod didn't do that well, even though it was really cool. Like, what does that say to a genre where games that are in beta don't really go out? Heroes of New Earth, I guess you could technically say, is another one, because I think they shut down eventually. But, like, what does that say to a genre?
So that's the thing. Like, I don't think there's a lot of differentiation within the genre. Like, like within first-person shooters, there's a lot of places you can kind of go with it, and there's like different mechanics based on your different like kind of settings. Like a futuristic first-person shooter plays a lot different than a kind of sword and sorcery first-person shooter. But with a MOBA, like the game is so much about mechanics. Like it's like really it's about the mechanics. So there's just not like you have to have good mechanics. And like, there's not a lot of room for like competitors to get in there because like what is good is already being made, and it's being made by people who have a lot of money. So
and have a big following too, which is the other issue.
I don't think it's weird at all to see a game come out, even if it's just in beta, not do so well with its player base, and then fall off the scene. That happens all the time in every other genre with a ton of games. It's just a little higher profile in the MOBA scene because there are so few MOBAs out there compared to the other genres. There are tons of shooters, tons of racers, tons of fighting games. There's only like half a dozen well-known MOBAs.
And also, MOBAs are the first, probably one of the, well, I won't say the first, but one of the first genres to exist entirely in the age of the microtransaction. Like,
correct.
Microtransactions are baked into the genre. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, if you do that in a skeezy or just in a kind of predatory way, I think people are getting savvy about it, and they're just not going to support you.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
For those of you just joining us, we are That Game Show. We're talking about, I just found out Infinite Crisis, the MOBA closed down, and we're talking about other MOBAs that have been closed down. What does this mean for the MOBA genre? Curtis, continue.
There was an interesting one I played a while back called Dead Island Epidemic. And it was a MOBA, and it was different. It was very different. I never played a MOBA quite like it. Instead of like creeps being from your side or their side, there were just zombies that were running around the entire like area, and you would basically kill them and get points. And it was kind of like almost a capture the flag kind of mechanic. And then there was like a PvE game you could play in it. That was kind of a little bit like Diablo. It was interesting. I liked it okay, but there were some microtransactions that made things go a little bit too fast for certain players.
Okay.
And it took way too long to accumulate, and that one actually just shut down in October as well. Yeah. It never had very many players, which was the other issue. Yeah.
So it's kind of surprising to see just like games just shut down. Like, and it shows like right now the MOBA genre is dominated by Dota, Heroes, and League, and then there's Smite exists, and
Smite's pretty strong.
Yeah, which is good. Which is good for them because like they're a much smaller company, especially like Riot's. You know, they've gotten a lot bigger, and you know, Valve's just been Valve, and Blizzard's just been Blizzard. But
I think this is also a symptom of this genre being 100% multiplayer based, where you have to have these dedicated game clients, right? Which means if the game that doesn't do well, you can literally terminate the existence of the game by no longer supporting the multiplayer matchmaking, right? A game that came out 10 years ago would have had a single player component where you don't just turn off the game's ability to function for those players who are doing the campaign or whatever. There is no campaign to these games. It is entirely dependent on the player community being engaged.
I mean,
the game can just disappear.
Like, look at Evolve. Like, that thing just died because, like, nobody got behind it.
And there were microtransactions in that game.
Yeah.
Gosh, there was microtransactions in the game before the game was even announced.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with that one is they started launching the DLC, and people were like, there's not enough content in this game. They're like, well, pay $20 more, and everyone said, nope, moving on to the next thing.
Apparently, mechanically, it wasn't all that great.
Yeah.
So,
it worked okay. It was...
but I don't think okay is good enough anymore.
No, I don't.
Multiplayer game.
Especially for DLC, no.
I think the issue was that the idea was a great idea, but the way they wanted players to play and the way the players were playing or
Yeah.
two separate issues, or two separate things.
Well, this kind of leads into the other topic I teased. By the way, we'll talk about Kotaku being blacklisted in just a second, how it affects journalism. By the way, you feel free to tweet the show at _game_show, or you could tweet me at Chase Bunker. The developer of Killing Floor 2, Tripwire Interactive, like, they came out and defended microtransactions in general, and they kind of did the same thing with Payday. Is like they have microtransactions to unlock stuff, but it's purely cosmetic, and they have it to where if one person has it, then everybody can play it in that game, so to say. Correct?
Yeah, something along those lines. I think it's basically if you drop it, somebody else can pick it up.
You're talking about Killing Floor again, right?
Correct.
Right. So if someone has purchased the Arcanite Reaper axe, everyone in that game session, even if you haven't bought it, can use it. So it's shared paid DLC, sort of, right?
So,
Kind of.
like, I'm okay with this, kind of, not really, but, like, if you're doing ongoing development, like, if you want ongoing support for your multiplayer game, like, that's one way to fund it. I'm kind of resolved at this point. I'm just not playing games that have microtransactions. Like, I'm just not doing it.
I think like we could blame the MOBA genre for that, technically, because like the MOBAs are pretty much like. I mean,
I think you can blame phones, just in general. Like
But that's a little different because in the MOBA you can also earn things by just playing the game. So
Yeah.
I mean, other than skins, I mean, this sounds mostly cosmetic, but they said they kind of left it open that maybe down the line it would be.
I mean, really, what we can blame is horse armor. Like, right? Like that's
Go back far enough, right?
like yeah, that's it's horse armor.
Yeah.
All
right.
I think what's bothering people the most about this situation is that they're doing this paid DLC while the game is still in alpha, right? Open alpha. So the game's not done yet, and they're already asking you to do paid skins, paid weapons, paid all this stuff. The game's not even done yet.
So I think, what was it? I think you can do that correctly, and I think Hearthstone did do it correctly, in that you could spend money while the game was still in like closed beta. But I think they gave there was just very generous kind of refundy kind of stuff.
You got everything again, essentially. When the game actually came out, if you had pre-purchased 500 packs, you then got 500 packs again. Different stuff, I guess.
Or I think you still got the same cards, but for a while you could just disenchant it it was basically you could do a trade that was 1-to-1 if you wanted. They still do that now. If they ever change a card, they allow you to disenchant it for like the exact so that you can trade it for a card of the exact same rarity.
Right. Yeah. They treat you well in that the transaction rate. Yeah. But you're right. I don't really see a difference, I suppose, between that and what Tripwire is doing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just.
I mean, I have more faith in Blizzard.
Yeah, I mean, not to say anything poorly about Tripwire, but it does make me incredibly nervous when they say, "Oh, trust us, we'll give you free DLC." I mean, but Tripwire, to their credit, has always done very well by, giving new maps and such like that. They did it every 3 times a year or something like that back in the original Killing Floor. So, I mean, good on them for doing that, but at the same time, I still believe I'm going to have to pay for every single extra gun they're spit out. So, I mean, I don't like the fact that they're asking for money in that manner. I would rather them coming out with a weapon pack and say, hey, we have this really cool weapon pack. If you guys want it, pay me $2. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Right. All right. What do you guys think of the... Chase, you trying to move us on?
Yeah, a little bit. Because, we've been talking about this for a while, and we kind of need to talk about the blacklisting. By the way, speaking of Hearthstone, I'm now owner of Dr. Boom. If you followed me on Twitter or on Facebook, I got a golden Millhouse Manastorm, which is really just such a crap card. It's a epic it's a legendary, but it's a 2-drop. All enemy spells count 0 for the next turn. It's like no,
it's conditional.
It's conditional. If you're going up against a mage, don't ever play it. But if you're going
That's
up against,
conditional. It's a bad card. Sometimes it's an awful card, but sometimes it's just a bad card. Sure.
but it's one of those like I saw it and it's like, wait a minute, it's a golden legendary. I can literally get anything I want with this. And so I posted the poll on Twitter, what should I get? And the consensus was Dr. Boom. And so I got Dr. Boom over Archmage Antonitis and King Crush, which I kind of died a little because I was like, I could have gotten that. I could have gotten Illidan, even though I just would want Illidan. Or I could have gotten Alex Strasza, because Alex Strasza is awesome. But that's... Alright, cool. Great contribution on that one. Anyway, so... Final topic for the show today. Kotaku writers have come out and they said that they are not officially, but they're saying that they are pretty much blacklisted by Ubisoft and Bethesda games for leaking out news early and all that stuff. So it's been going around for about maybe a week or two now. A lot of YouTubers have been talking about it, especially Total Biscuit, which I'll probably bring up his point in just a little bit. Guys,
do we have to?
What do you mean?
I am not a fan of Total Biscuit, but whatever.
Okay, looks like we're gonna have a fun discussion later. So guys, what do you think this does for gaming journalism now? We'll start off with Murph.
So I guess I'm gonna put my biases on my sleeve because obviously I have them. I'm not a journalist.
Yeah. We just talk about games.
Exactly. Look, so I generally I like Kotaku. Their parent company I have some problems with, specifically Gawker, but overall, me and Kotaku are tight.
I'm glad that you guys are bros.
Like, we were bros. I think, like, yeah, like I'm pretty much okay with Kotaku doing the things, doing, journalism, reporting stories that have been, or information that they found have leaked. And yeah, it probably did mess up some marketing plan, and maybe it possibly, it might have cost, theoretical dollars to Bethesda or whatever. What was it? Bethesda and
Ubisoft, and there might be another one. I don't remember.
Are you looking at the article right now?
I am not looking at the article right now, but
Okay.
I've heard that there are other ones besides just those two that they're blacklisted them.
And like, it's like it is perfectly within those companies' rights to not talk to a news outlet, just because I don't think anyone should be forced to talk to any news outlet. That's not America. But I do think it's pretty petty.
Clegg.
So just to summarize the discussion for those who aren't aware of it, Kotaku is saying that they're being blacklisted by these companies, meaning they don't get early access or previews of the games that these companies are working on. And this is a problem for a news outlet because they want to do day one reviews of games along with other big sites so that they get that traffic as well coming in. Plus, they want to just report on the big games that are coming out because they're, a games journalism company. So the fact that they're not getting access is a problem in their mind, and they see it as an issue in the industry where these games journalism companies have to stay in the good graces of the developers in order to retain the rights to go to these press releases to get early access copies of games. So they don't like the fact that they kind of have to kiss butt from the to the developers to stay in their good graces. From the game developers' perspective, they don't like having the game that they've been working on in secret for years suddenly outed via leak. They lose the surprise factor for their audience, right? That's the big issue from their perspective. It might change the release schedule, it might change the development schedule, because all of a sudden they have to talk about something they weren't going to discuss for another year or two, right? So from their perspective, commenting on rumors is disruptive to their plans, right? That's sort of a summary of what's going on, right? Did I miss anything?
No, that sounds about right.
Correct. The kiss butt part, though, they basically cut off almost all contact, from what I understand. With
Won't even return Kotaku's emails.
Correct.
Just no contact whatsoever.
Yeah, and they don't get like the there's no exclusivity.
Previews.
Which like first like Total Biscuit, brought this up, and it's a very good point. Like, what about like the fact that like look at how many like first looks like IGN gets and like GameSpot, and it's like you want to somehow also avoid the paying for good reviews in a way. Because okay, Curtis, make your point as well, and I have
no. Finish your point, and then I'll make my point after.
Because I mean, no company, I think, for fairness, for the consumer's sake, nobody should be blacklisted because everybody should have like fair access and all that stuff. Because like we know that there is like a little bit of corruption in games journalism, that people have paid money for a good review. And that was why Jeff Gershman got fired from GameSpot years ago for Kane and Lynch. Everybody pretty much is like agrees Jeff Gershman got fired for that. Am I wrong, Murph? Or
I
think that one's a fairly well documented case.
I want to tread lightly here.
Oh yeah,
I do not think there is a major problem in games journalism or ethics in games journalism, and I'm gonna summon the elephant in the room, and that I am because we've said ethics in games journalism. So of course we're talking about
there.
Nope, we're not even going to talk about that. Nope, I didn't.
The E word.
No, I did.
So
I said the E word. I did not say the G word. Do not bring that G word into my show.
Oh boy.
So, but I'm just saying, like, that's why this is an ethics thing for me. This is just, look, I don't know.
All right, Curtis, make your point then.
Okay, so I'm gonna just be very brief in what I say here, and I'm going to also tread incredibly lightly here.
Yes.
News organizations, okay, no matter what news organization it is, love stories. They love them, okay? They love to get on other news organizations when they screw up too.
This is true.
Without getting into too much of it, with the topic, and that sentence might not make a lot of sense to a lot of people, and I promise I'll come back to that statement. Blacklisting is not necessarily a bad thing, because basically the people who blacklisting can basically say, hey, you know what, we can review the heck out of this game, and you can't say that we're biased because we have no benefit.
Like Jim effing Sterling's son with Konami.
Jim Sterling, not to summon other demons, because that's going to pull out a whole nother
Oh,
issues,
yeah.
Is blacklisted by almost every major publishing company, I think, for talking about different things and, getting on people's cases. But whether you believe his points are valid or invalid, you have to say that he's not bought necessarily by any of those companies. And likewise, they're blacklisted, but does that really matter?
Yeah.
I mean, and going back to the original point, in terms of just ethics in general, everybody loves a good story. Okay, everybody loves to get on each other if someone's being, they think someone's being unethical or whatever. And without going too much more into that, we would have heard tons more about all sorts of corruption. I'm just saying, like, people love to talk. One company, especially, the evil Gawker or any other big news organization would totally jump on another news organization if they thought they were.
So what you're saying is this could be a story that Kotaku is making that could partially be true, but it's also a somewhat of not like a clickbait link news story, but almost a story that's like, hey.
Can I make my point, because this is going to summarize exactly what you're saying.
Okay,
go ahead.
So in my opinion, when you comment on a rumor, when you post a story about a rumor, we've heard, there's been a leak, we've been told from our inside sources that Fallout 4 is coming, right? This was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We've heard that they're working on the sequel to Skyrim or whatever, right? That's what that is. That's not journalism. There's no real... You're not commenting on anything concrete. There's been no confirmation from the publisher, right? You're posting something and it's clickbait.
That's exactly what it is. So when you post a story like that, and then you get slapped on the wrist by the publisher, right? They're totally within their right to do that. They should do that in my mind. And then you act all high and mighty saying, we are the epitome of games journalism. This is what we did. And it's a problem with the industry as a whole. Okay, you guys are not the epitome of games journalism. You commented on a rumor. So you're acting a little too big for your own britches in my mind. Right?
Hold on. I want to comment the fact that like this is the most bold I've ever seen Clegg on this show. So I'm just like, I don't know.
This ties back into what you were saying, Chase. You were saying that they're benefiting from the story. Not only is Kotaku getting traffic on their own website, but all the other game publishers, games journalism websites, are suddenly talking about Kotaku. This is absolutely a story that's about them getting more clicks on their website.
Right, but I mean, I'm gonna say that, but like, isn't that what, like,
Journalism
like Kotaku? Yeah, like I mean, like at the end of the day, Kotaku needs to drive traffic, in order to exist. Like,
yes, I mean, don't you wish they were doing that via the quality of game journalism, not commenting on the fact that they don't like how things are being taken?
That's journalism in and of itself. That's journalism of itself. I'll let you guys make your point in just a second, because I mean, right now, this is not just with games media. This is just all news media in general. That everybody is so quick to be the first of any story, regardless if it's sports, if it's media, video games, and whatnot. Like if they see a rumor, they will jump on it without even having any sources, and that's why the quality of journalism has gone down over the years, because we live in such an instant media or instant news, state, and also the fact that like we have. Like, to go with the clickbait stuff, like, clickbaiting is now a big news epidemic right now, because we have to now tease somebody and be like, oh, well, let's see what this is about. And it's like I made a whole video on, like, the top 5 reasons why I hate clickbaiting. You should check that out as well, and you'll see why I hate clickbaiting. But anyways.
Wait, watch till the end. Won't believe number 4.
Yeah, you won't believe. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Exactly.
It's like, top 5 reasons. You'll be surprised at what.
It's a meta video.
Did you guys actually watch that video?
You have to recognize it.
Without spoiling my video, did you guys actually watch it? Okay, it's good. It's good for. Just check that out. Anyways, go to Curtis, and then we'll go to Murph.
Just take a quick step back, really quick. Yeah, is it clickbait? Yeah, it might be clickbait. Okay, I agree that the article is a bit of clickbait. But let's also just rewind a second. Those rumors are usually from sources, okay? These are not just random rumors floating on the internet. These are usually verified sources that say, hey, something is coming, or this website is saying blah, right? And both of these rumors that got them blacklisted were totally true.
Right. At the end of the day.
I mean, like, when they get blacklisted for true rumors that they have sources that are probably within that company.
And let me just say, like, one of the reasons why I kind of like that they're saying, hey, we've been blacklisted by Ubisoft and Bethesda, is that when I do read Kotaku every day. I do like their reviews. I think their review is why I bought Shadow of Mordor. Like, when they don't have a review up for Fallout 4, I kind of want to know why. Like, it's not because Kotaku was like, nobody's going to play this Fallout 4 game.
Yeah.
But now I know. Now you know why.
By the way, too,
because
like
they have to get it day one and then review it over a week, right? So then they're a week behind all the other sites in their review schedule.
Or they
by
just
the way,
haven't played
like,
it as much as those other sites.
Just for ethics purposes, we don't know if like other main websites have been, paid for good reviews. We were just stating as an example, look at first looks that they get and blah blah blah. So we got to cover that base before we get, just in case for like slander. So
I don't think any. Yeah, okay. I'm sure there might be probably official PlayStation magazine.
Yeah, I mean, like those, I'm like, reviews, okay,
but that's in the sense that PlayStation magazine is owned by Sega, and therefore, I
mean, just as an example, right? I'm sure there's not.
Yeah,
a check that gets sent
fart.
Bethesda to IGN with a dollar amount for them reviewing their game, right? However, and this is just an example, if fly your IGN reps out to our facility, we house them in a hotel, we feed them, we give them early access to the game, and we give them a tour of our facility. Okay, that's an expense that the game publisher is taking on. It's not going to IGN. But they're treating you real well. They're spending money on you, if not giving it to you.
And
right?
I think most of those sites have statements of integrity. Like I know, for example, the Polygon explicitly turns down those kind of things, like those kinds of trips, and they state so specifically in their ethics policy. So I mean, really, it's you as a consumer take some responsibility. Read the site that is read the site whose review you're reading. Read their ethics policy, and really, it's on the site themselves if they went out and got flown to some posh resort for like a multiplayer thing. Because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and when they describe when the new COD Blops Assassin's Dagger is dropping, one of those big multiplayer games, they do fly all the game journalists out to sort of a singular location because the servers aren't up, and if you want to get a multiplayer review in, you need to have it in a whatever location. As long as you reveal, hey, they flew us out and they paid for our hotels, or hey, they flew us out but we paid for our hotels, I'm okay with that.
Right.
Yeah,
so it would be it's on the game publishing or the games journalism companies to disclose that information.
Right.
They won't all do that.
No.
So
I think
also
the
falls on the
vast-
readers to do some research and know what sort of relationship exists between the journalism company and the publishing company.
And maybe it's just the sites that I read do that. They're very explicitly, but I think most sites do disclose that relation.
I think
that's
IGN
Usually
also does
kind
that
of
as well.
in a very minor blurb.
Yeah.
I
Like
think
they'll
it's
say like in
usually
the
a minor
end,
blurb somewhere.
disclaimer note. Because I remember
Correct.
IGN had
Right.
one game
But
where
I mean-
one of the reviewers actually made the music, and he said he didn't touch the reviewer, he didn't have any contact with this reviewer during that time, blah blah blah. And he didn't even know, or something like
Right.
that. So, all right, this was probably one of our best topics ever, especially like most heated. Clegg, I am surprised. I have not seen this side of you before. Just like come out
I
about
think what we really want is a little diagram that shows the relationship between this journalism company and this publishing company, so that as a consumer we understand what's the relationship here. Are you getting handouts from you? Is that going to cloud my perspective of how you would review their title?
this is video games
Might be more
journalism,
of the
not Congress. All right.
journalist themselves. This might be more of the journalists themselves and the relationships with some,
Right. Like
Transparency in the industry, I think, is what people are hoping for.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna just with a counterpoint. I think most of the times on most of the reputable sites, and by reputable I mean the big ones, the Kotakus, your IGNs, your Giant Bombs, your Polygons, like they're pretty transparent.
You just have to know where to look for that information.
Right.
That's really
Yeah.
where that comes down to.
Yeah. So, anyways, that is it for today's show. Thank you guys very much for watching, whether you're watching us on YouTube or if you interacted with us on Twitch today. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/thatnewshowshow. You can follow me on Twitter @ChaseBunker, or you can follow the show on Twitter @that_game_show. You can also follow Murph on Twitter @DorkNightShow. Check out him and his friend Mike's YouTube channel, Mikesimum Tomato. It's Sonic. Oh no, not anymore. It's no longer Sonic Month because it's
Nope.
December.
We've a couple more Sonic. We have recorded all of Sonic Timber.
Okay,
Put it that way.
Sonic Timber. Gosh, you
We're
really
moving into the month of-
catch your name.
Look, it's Sonic Month. Look,
Yeah.
actually, I'll give you a preview. The last game of Sonic Month, I actually liked.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Little
What a
teaser there.
tease! Check out some of the other videos I've
Were
done,
you guys going
especially.
in reverse order.
No, we're not.
Sorry, go ahead, James.
Feel free to check out the clickbait video that I mentioned as well. It's kind of interesting, and also check out some of the interviews I've done on our YouTube channel. Other than that, Curtis, did I forget anything?
Not that I can think of, buddy.
All right, please don't die on me before I finish this show. Murph, did I forget anything?
Well, try not to.
I think I'm good.
Clegg, did I forget anything?
Nope, good to go.
All right. So for Curtis Coe, Murph Murphy, and Daniel Clegg, I'm Chase Bunker. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.